away.
Okay, give me just a second.
I can stop it. Let's go.
Okay. Good morning. My name is Lamin Jallo in Toronto. Good morning, good afternoon, wherever you might be. Thank you, dear listener, for tuning in today's Africa. Hope you are all enjoying your Saturday. We have a wonderful sunny Saturday this morning here in Toronto. Those who are used to tune in, thank you very much for your fidelity. Those who it's their first time, warm welcome and thank you very much for tuning in. And we greatly appreciate to have you on board today. Without all of you, we won't be able to express our passion and dedication to our Africa, our future. I have a wonderful co-host today who put Africa tight at their hearts, co-hosting with me today. I have my brother, JB Daniel from Accra. Good afternoon, brother JB.
Good afternoon, sir.
I have also brother Teo Yao Boakie, producer of this program in Toronto. Actually, today he will wear two hats, producer and co-host. And our topic today, developing Africa with the diaspora. You know, before getting to the heart around the subject, I would like us to agree on the definition of the term diaspora, especially in the African context. This will be the first question I am going to ask our special guests. We are going to have two guests today, so just to give them the time to connect, because they had a little bit of technical difficulties, a problem, but I believe they will connect later on. So I have read in the literature why it is called African diaspora. So the word diaspora has its origins in the Latin word diaspora, meaning disperse, from dia, meaning across, plus spread, meaning scatter. Accordingly, we understand the term African diaspora to refer to the dispersal of African outside of the African continent. So here the word dispersal can be used in two ways. Firstly, to describe the actual process of dispersal. So the term African diaspora first appeared in the literature in the 1950s and has been broadly defined to include all global communities descended from the historic migrations of peoples from Africa since the 15th century. We need to acknowledge that people of African descent have contributed significantly to the making of different parts of the world. North America, 39, almost 40 million. Latin America, 112 million. Caribbean, around 14 million. Europe, more than 4 million, and have played a vital role in the world history and culture. Now, according to the African Union, the African diaspora is composed of people of African origin living outside of the continent, irrespective of their citizenship and nationality, and who are willing to contribute to the development of the continent and the building of the African Union. Now, the African Union considers the diaspora to be the sixth region of Africa. And we know the other regions are Eastern, Southern, Central, Western, and North region of Africa. Now, the diaspora contribution to African development goes back to the abolitionist movement against the slave trade and to the conceptualization of Pan-Africanism and the struggle for decolonization. And also, since 1980s, the population of the first and second generation African diaspora has increased significantly. So the African diaspora can be a potent force for development, financial remittance, but more importantly, social remittances in business through promotion of trade, investment, knowledge, and technology transfer. So, Brother JD, how can you define, in your own perspective, African diaspora?
Yeah, I think you you have done a great job to the topic. African diaspora, to my mind, encompasses the first generation African diaspora being those who came by way of slavery. Then in the 50s, after African countries managed to obtain their independence, people started moving in and across other parts of the world. And that generation, most of which came to do for economic purposes and for acquisition of knowledge by way of attending the various universities and technical colleges all over the place. And some of them went back to their various countries, but some of them rather chose to stay in the countries where they had migrated to. But you notice that for a long time, these African immigrants or these Africans have contributed immensely to the countries that they reside in, be it in USA, the Caribbean, Canada, Europe, or what have you. But even though they contribute a greater amount of money to their various countries of origin, we have not formalized their stay and contribution to Africa. So like you rightly said, the AU in 1999 took a bold step to start working with the African diaspora. And now we have taken a definitive decision to make the African diaspora all over the world as the sixth country in Africa, which means that they are part and parcel of the African continent as we talk now. And those, yeah. So now Africa has come to appreciate or recognize their contributions, because their contributors normally go to increase the budgets or the foreign exchange reserves of their various countries, and the money they send to their families back home help to take care of their aged parents and help to for development, because definitely they build houses and in their various towns and villages. So the work or the contribution of the African diaspora is very important, and I'm very happy now the EU has recognized them and have made them the sixth region of Africa. So that's where we are now, Doc.
Thank you.
African diaspora is a very...
Yeah, thank you, Brother David. Actually, Obiagali Ezek Wesley, the World Bank's Vice President for Africa, was saying at one point, it is important to look strategically at the diaspora's role in African development beyond wealth. And she added, Africans in the diaspora have the skill and knowledge that would need to be mobilized to promote African continent. And I believe she's absolutely right. So we actually have, I think our topic today has its relevance. And for that, we are honored and privileged to have not one, but two very special guests. And no other than that, Dr. Barbara Stewart, Secretary General AU 6RC, African Union, 6th Region, Canada, and Dr. Onyekachi Kalu, Chairman, AU 6RC, and Policy Advisor of the Americas. What a privilege and honor to have both of them at the same time. And, let's have Dr. Stewart introduce herself. Who is Dr. Stewart? And briefly, what AU 6RC, African Union 6th Region Canada, is all about. And then my question is, what the term African diaspora mean for you in your own perspective? Good morning, Dr. Stewart. We are so honored and privileged to have you. Thank you for being with us today. The floor is yours, Doctor.
Dildo for having us. It's an honor privilege. The list here clearly, but I try my best to respond to what you said. As you mentioned, my name is Barbara Stewart, Dr. Barbara Stewart, and I'm the Secretary General for the African Union 6th Region Canada, working alongside with Dr. Kalu, who is the president or chair of the organization. We have been here in Canada for the last 13 years, and this region has been mobilizing the diaspora. As you know, Africa was first 5 regions: East, West, North, South, Central. But in 2011, the 6th region was adopted at the Pan-African Parliament in South Africa, where all the heads of state gather, and the 6th region came in establishment at that time. We are here as a governing body, voice for the diaspora, and also mandated by the Union to mobilize the diaspora in a significant way. We're not here to restart anything or to reinvent the wheel, but we're here to take us to the next level.
I think Dr.
And I will turn over to Dr. Kalu.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart, and thank you very much. In fact, we had the honor to have Dr. Kalu participating in last week's show. Of course, we thought we would take the opportunity to have him back today as a special guest. Welcome back, Dr. Kalu. What a privilege and honor to have you on consecutive Saturday. Even though you had introduced yourself last week, we'll ask you to redo the exercise for the benefit of our listeners who missed the broadcast last Saturday. Then the same question: what the term African diaspora mean for you in your own perspective? The floor is yours, Dr.
Kalu. Thank you so very much for really having us today, Mr. Gallo. I really appreciate being here. I think it's about the second time now being on the show. I don't know if it's about me, but it's a little bit of a noise in the background. But I hope I can be heard. But I'm just getting some noise in April. It's thank you. Oh wow. Okay. So as mentioned, my name is Macaulay Kalu, and the chairman of the African Union 6th region, the Americas, and the Caribbean. As a policy advisor, represents as a focal point person from the Citizenship and Diaspora Directorate. I'm an elected officer representing the Americas and the Caribbean. So we're happy to be here.
Hello?
Okay.
Yeah,
I don't know if I can continue
okay, thank you, Dr. Kalu. So, you know, developing Africa with the diaspora, as I said earlier, is a valuable approach that contributes to the growth and progress of the continent. And now, I believe, you know, we need, you know, the African diaspora to living outside the continent, you know, obviously, living, including those in America like us, in Europe, and other parts of the world. So leveraging the skills, knowledge, resources, and networks of the diaspora to have a significant impact on African development. And we have, few keys, to consider. And I believe it's important, let's say the knowledge and expertise transfer, the investment in entrepreneurship, cultural exchange and collaboration with all African, regardless where they're born. Actually, in this program, we don't want to say I'm from Jamaica, I'm from Ivory Coast, I'm from Nigeria. We would like to say we are African or African descent, born in Kingston or born in Lagos, etc. So to promote that unity in the Pan-Africanism, in regardless where are you born. So I believe also in your vision, in your mission, you are promoting the Pan-Africanism in the broad general term, whatever it's out in Africa and outside Africa. So in this case, we know there is some kind of hurdle in terms of the diaspora participate in the development on the African continent in general. So I will ask the question in both of you: what the hurdle for developing for the diaspora to contribute to the development of Africa? But before I answer my question, I will let my co-host JB to introduce himself briefly, and also maybe he will have questions to ask you. Brother JB.
Yeah, thank you, Doc. I'm JB Daniels in Accra, Ghana. I'm the vice chairman of the Convention Proposed Party, Farm Improvements Party. Those, yeah. So I'm a regular contributor to this program. Yeah. And I'm Pan-Africanist.
So,
Doc, I would rather allow our two guests to start briefing us, then I'll come in with my question. Because I had a chance of talking to them last week, so I don't want to preempt anything. I want them, after the anniversary, I want them to start telling us what they stand for, then I will come in. I want to be that.
Let's start with Dr. Stewart. So what's your take on what the hurdles for Africa, the diaspora, to contribute to the development of Africa? Are the diaspora really contributing to the development of Africa? And what do you have to say about that?
Thank you very much. For me, as I was born in Jamaica, but I'm an African. And I always clearly state that our roots is more important than our branches, because the root is the motherland. And for us to have an identity, we have to know where we're from. And in order to be able to move forward, we have to embrace our root. We have to embrace where we're from. And this is what we're here helping the diaspora, for those who are from the continent, because we know that the sixth region represent all people born outside of the continent or live outside of the continents. And that's what the sixth region is all about. And to get us to a place where we're not feeling as though we're abandoned, but getting a sense of belonging, knowing that there is hope. There is hope for us to return to our motherland. The Bible says, honor your mother and your father so that your days may be long upon the earth. Therefore, we have to honor our motherland, honor where we come from. And the sixth region, we just celebrated the 60th anniversary of the African Union. And that's not just about just raising a flag, but it's also to understand that we have made progress. We have come a far way. Our ancestors did pave the way, and we are now irrespective of the challenges that Africa may be experiencing or may have experienced according to the media. We are at a place where we know that we are rising with power, knowing that Africa is at a new is a new place, and Africa is a place right now where the diaspora is looking forward to returning home and to be welcome and have a place that they can say, yes, I belong. And that's what we are about. That's what the movement is about. That's what the sixth region is about, to bring us back to our origin and back to our home. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. Yes, the sense of belonging is very important, and Africa, as you said, is a new place, so we need to acknowledge, we need the first thing is the sense of belonging in both ways. So the people from Africa, those who are in Africa, accept the diaspora, and the diaspora also accept they are from Africa, and also they have the opportunity to return. Dr. Kalu, what do you have to add what just Dr. Stewart said?
Well, once again, thank you very much for having us. And just like what Dr. Stewart said, all we're doing is to make sure that there is an understanding about who we are. We were not discovered, as sometimes it's been said that there is a discovery of African countries or certain things, but we've always been existing. Africa is the oldest continent in the world, as we know that life began in Africa. And of course, we know what had happened through the issues and the challenges of the transatlantic slavery that took a lot of our brothers and sisters all around the world. And it's been a long time coming, as we and as people of African descent has been longing to be reconnected back home. And one of the biggest challenges as diasporans is not having a parent, because so many of us as leave the sea if we didn't have parents, from the Caribbean, or as African Americans or African Canadians, where we kind of been struggling on our own as we didn't have a voice. But the recognition of the African Union has changed the dynamics of that process. And that's why you're seeing a lot of things are happening. Even there was the Caribbean African Summit that happened a few years ago in recognition of that partnership and that relationship of reconnection. And so we're very happy with what is happening right now, that as people of African descent, there is a voice being given to us and giving us the political will to stand out and stand tall, to speak and be able to mobilize our people as people of African descent to be reconnected in every aspect for the social economic development of Africa and the people of African descent. It's all about a global Africa family. And so we're very happy with what is happening at this time. And the mobilization process, the sixth region is to be part of the other 5 regions that represent the regional economic communities. And the regional economic community is about the ability to improve and grow the social economic process of Africa. And so they trade together as a region. And so we as people of African descent is to leverage and to learn from what is happening over in the continent, to be able to trade among ourselves, to do business, to grow our economy, and at the same time to trade with Africa. As this year is known as African Continental Free Trade Agreement, which is the theme, African Continental Free Trade Agreement implementation process. So we are at this place where Africa is becoming, of course, the ratification process is ongoing. And as these things are complete, it's going to be one of the biggest block or biggest, trade agreement in the world, and that's what we're looking forward with 55 countries being able to do business together, work together. Now, the diaspora contribution is in line with that, as well as we have the continent has suffered the brain drain over time. With a lot of people, whether because of issues of economic situations or issues of war, or because of the transatlantic slavery, we have a lot of people who have been taken outside of the continent, and the continent has suffered immersion because of that. But at this point, we have the diaspora in re-engaging back in the continent and bringing back the brain gain and the experiences that we have gained over time. And also, there's a lot of investment which we are contributing to, um, you know, foreign direct investment. As you know, that the remittances in Africa is bigger than anything you can imagine. It's in billions of dollars, and that's helping a lot with families and helping with different levels of development, and helping with establishment of schools and hospitals and so many things that are happening from the diaspora, and of course there are also trade missions that are going on where expatriates and professionals of different levels of diasporans are always also going down and supporting what is happening. And so we are very happy with what's on currently, and we are happy that as diasporans we have an opportunity to contribute to the social economic development of the continent of Africa. So for now, I'll leave it here for now, but we are very happy, we're very excited, and we've come a long way. The recognition, which is the declaration of the sixth region, which is about 11 years now, May 25th, 2012, make it 11 years as the sixth region. And so we're very happy about that as we celebrate that, and we celebrate as well the 60th anniversary of the African Union. And so we are not where we used to be. We are not where we want to be, but we have moved on, and so much is happening. And we're very excited for what is going on right now. As I say all the time, you cannot change a system outside of the system. You can only change a system being part of the system. And the only thing we can do is to be part of what is going on in the movement and do what we can to contribute to that social economic development of Africa and the people of African descent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kailo. Actually, thank you. And you, while developing Africa with the diaspora, has immense potential. And you talk about there are few challenges, and you talk about those challenges. About brain drain and retention. There is investment barriers, limited access to capital. And there is also cultural and social disconnect sometimes. And also there is a lack of sometimes coordination and collaboration. And maybe you can talk about legal and policy frameworks. And actually, you are the policy advisor in terms of policies. So and there is also some kind of perception and stereotype. So negative perception and stereotype about Africa sometimes can discourage diaspora engagement investment. So how can we resolve those problems? But I see Dr. Francis Monangi Pindu. Good morning, Doctor. So you will take the train in March. So before we have Dr. Stewart and Dr. Kalu, respond to my question, maybe you can introduce yourself, and also if you, throw a few words into the floor so we can take the train and march with you. Thank you, Dr. Francis. Good morning, Dr. Singh.
Good morning, Dr. Diallo. Bonjour. I'm sorry that I got mixed up. I just am in the US. I'm from Ontario. I didn't realize the 1 hour difference that really threw me off. And I'm thinking, oh, I still have 30 minutes to get onto this show. And I realized I'm 30 minutes late. I'm sorry about that. And it's good to see our brother JD and, of course, our brother Theo in the background. And welcome, Dr. Stewart and Dr. Kalu. I'm an African at heart, and I think sometimes by virtue of being in other parts of the world, we kind of lose some things and gain some things in terms of our thought process. But I'm very encouraged. I only heard Dr. Kalu share some insights here, and I'm looking forward to hearing from our sister, Dr. Stewart. When I think of the African Union, well, you know what? I could introduce myself and tell you some other things, but we're here to talk about moving forward and understanding what is happening. I liked the comment you made about you cannot change the system from outside, but you have to change it from within. And I am wondering if you are able to let us know how much of that support are you actually experiencing from within our African brothers and sisters. And I'm thinking heads of state and people who really make a difference. I mean, you are a policy advisor, so you would know that it's really at the policy level that things change, because when it starts there, then it trickles down. And so I'm trying to get a feel of what are some of the challenges. I know you're talking about excitement. You know, yes, we do have a history, but this is a new season. It's an opportunity for us to move forward, and there are lots of things to celebrate. But what are some of those challenges you're experiencing right now as we think about the AU? Because anyway, let me leave it at that. I know you were going to respond to some of the questions that Dr. Diallo asked, but for me, I would want to hear from you both, practitioners, people who are really engaged within and outside the continent, but you are part of what is happening there. What are those challenges you're facing?
Maybe Dr. Kalu first, because you are the policy advisor. Maybe you can, and then maybe Dr. Stewart can add on it.
Well, thanks for the question. When you talk about challenges, well, I think one of the challenges that we have is that there's a misconception and misunderstanding about roles and duties, and so the African citizens, even the same thing that I see within the continent as opposed to what we experience in the diaspora, as you know, being a Canadian or living in Canada, the political spectrum and system is a little bit different and a little bit more well understood by citizens. Now, when it comes to about policy, people don't understand that governance or the political structure all deals with policy, not so much about implementation. And so the biggest challenge we have is that as policies are being released or adopted or endorsed, you know, the structure is not fully there where you have the lobbyists or the lobby group and the service providers that are fully recognized or acknowledged within the system of the AU that can now provide us with the process of implementation. So you have a lot of things that we have that are documented and accepted or agreed. For example, we have our Agenda 2063, and this is a 50-year plan that each and every one of us is meant to help in helping us to fulfill these mandates and this agenda. But a lot of people still don't know about it, don't understand it, and a lot of people are still expecting the AU to do something, you know, but they've already brought out the documents and the policies. And then we need to have a structure where you have a more of a lobby group that will come and say, okay, I see these, I can do this part, I can do this, or I can do that. You know, giving an example, in Canada, you know, you have the federal level, the members of parliament, you have the provincial level, and you have the various you know, counties or cities. Now, when you have a budget, you know, I have the right to go to my member of parliament and as a service provider with my company or whatever, register with my constituency or even from the federal level. and having checked the budget and see what I can do, can request or lobby for an opportunity to bring those services to fruition, because the politicians have done the policy, but they don't do implementation. And so many times we find so many of the policies are just still hanging there, either in the system or in files, as we say, and you don't see them all being fulfilled, but they have been adopted. They've been wonderful consultations that have gone through before they were accepted or adopted, but we are not seeing the implementation aspect in fullness. And so some of us also have moved over to the other aspect of seeing what we can do in the implementation process. That's why when the establishment of the sixth region was done in 2012, some of us, took it upon ourselves, even as a policy person, but to still move on to seeing a way to put the structure on the ground. That is what you're seeing today, that we now have a system of the sixth region. For example, in Canada, we have the group in Europe, we have, the Oceanic region in Australia. And so we are doing what we can to support the policies to get to a place of implementation. And that's also the same thing with the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, the ratification and the process of seeing what we can do to move from the policy level to the aspect of the implementation. What can we do? The logistics, the aviation challenges, and all that. So there are discussions going on now to invite more people to invest in infrastructure and the things that can make these things to work solidly as it should be. And so these are some of the key challenges, that it's not about just the policy, which of course is the key thing that makes things happen, but also the aspect of those implementations as well. And also the continent is moving, as part of what we're doing, is moving from the aspect of AIDS. Has been a challenge that we have faced over time, where it's as if we are always receiving aids from developed countries and partners, but we have moved from there to a place of trade. So that's why you're seeing still, once again, the African Continental Free Trade Agreement, whereby we want to put the infrastructures in place so that we can trade with the rest of the world. Okay, and so these are the things that we are really looking forward to in making sure that all the expected and required infrastructures that are needed to move us forward, that are being put in place. So we're moving from AIDS to the aspect of trade, where we want to trade with the rest of the world, make our own money, and develop the continent and people of African descent by ourselves in the way that it should be. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carlo. Dr. Stewart, what do you have to add on what just Dr. Carlo said? And in terms of, I know he said about... Yes, go ahead, Doctor.
Yes, I just want to add to what Dr. Kalu said. Embrace what he said. The implementation of the diaspora is very important, and that's where we are. Why we are here as the region, as a body, mobilizing and engaging our diaspora. Event is important, and even in our diaspora to the motherland, to see and understand, because being outside of the continent and getting the report that we get from time to time through the media, the negative report, but are not understanding and having a true sense of what we can contribute to the continent. So even planning trips to take the diaspora to different countries to see and experience, and again having that sense of gratification and well-being, that they can see how they can take their expertise to contribute and see how we can make a difference in making the changes that we're working towards happen.
Thank you, Dr. Stewart. And you're absolutely right. And we need. Yes, go ahead, Doctor. You were saying something else. You're adding something. It seems Dr. Stewart is frozen. The network is frozen. Okay, so while we, hello, Dr. Stewart. Okay, JD, you just heard what Dr. Stewart said. Yeah, go ahead. You are adding something. Okay, JD. So you just heard what Dr. Stewart said, and she was talking about, you know, the. I believe she was talking about. Yes, she was talking about, you know, engaging the diaspora effectively. You know, you require coordination and collaboration. You know, and you, in your perspective, what do you think? You know, between what Dr. Kalu said and Dr. Stewart just said, what's your take on it?
Yeah, I believe we are at the right time, because you remember when Dr. Daniels or Mr. Daniels came here, and he told us he was representing some diaspora organization in the United States of America, which was linked somehow to the government, and we were not even sure. I mean, it was linked to the government of America, and we're not even sure the status of that organization. But I see that the people we are talking to here on the platform are real African diasporans who are determined to bridge the gap between the African diasporans and the African continents. I was going to ask them, what's the relation between their organization to the diaspora people, African diaspora people in America, Central America, Europe, India, Australia, and other continents? Because definitely, when Dr. Kalu started, he told us that the organization embraces all the African diasporans in all parts of the world. And I can see from what our two panelists are saying, after interacting with them last week and today, I noticed that the organization is a very serious organization, and they are really determined to work to bring Africa to the diaspora community wherever they find themselves. I wanted to ask them, what's the relation between what they are doing in Canada and the diasporans in America and the other places of the world, so that we will have a uniform agenda to pursue the diasporan Africa and the African continent agenda that we all want. Because we know that here are people who are professionals in their own right. They have acquired a lot of work ethics in the continents that they reside in. And if they come together and establish lending that they have established with Africa, I mean, there are so many benefits that Africa is going to derive from their expertise. And of course, those who are not endowed with professional status, I'm sure they work in their various and the other countries they are residing in, and they bring a lot of money to their families and the countries of Africa, which have to bound the foreign exchange reserves of the various African countries. So we cannot play with this segment of Africans. And I believe that we should give them all the necessary support to pursue the agenda that they are doing, so that to be Africa will have a lot of benefit from their actions. And I want to know if they can expatiate on the relation between their organization and other diasporans in the other continents. That's exactly what I want to ask.
Thank you, brother JD. Maybe we'll Dr. Kalu can go first, and just to talk about if your organization is uniform, regardless where you are, whether you are in North America or other parts of the world. Do you have, or do we have a uniform organization in terms of the 6th region? I know you look you take care of about the 6 regions in Canada, in North America, in Americas, but I think it's important to have something, uniform and global, so we will have more, power to move forward with our objective for developing our continent, our motherland. Dr. Kalu.
Well, thank you so much once again, Mr. Daniels, and also host, Mr. Dallo. So, following what you just asked, and yes, there is a relationship between what we're doing here in Canada and also to the rest of the world. For those who attended the events that we just did, that just actually ended yesterday, we had a 3-day event that started on the 24th and finished yesterday. And 25th was the ceremonial aspect of the flag raising ceremony of the African Union flag at the Legislative Assembly of the Ontario government or parliament. Now, we had a lot of the official representatives. Of course, the ambassador of the African Union to the United States was in attendance. He actually did us the honor of raising the flag. And also, we had the presiding officers of the ECOSOC, the Economic Social Cultural Commission. So we had also the director, the acting director of Citizenship and Diaspora Directorate of CIDO, and also, of course, the program head of the ECOSOC. Now, I'm just not the policy advisor on the Diaspora focal point, but I'm also elected a person representing the whole of the Americas and the Caribbean. And so we are moving to that place where we can put a standard system and structure in place, a uniform process across the Americas and the Caribbean. Now, I had my colleagues also that came from Europe, representing the whole of Europe, one body whereby all the organizations of civil society organizations are represented under this one structure. The same we had also one of our colleagues. Actually, most of them been in town. They're actually traveling back today. My colleague from Australia representing the Asia Pacific and Australia. And so the AU have recognized the Pan-African bodies or networks like ourselves with unofficial. We have gone through the ratification process. We've gone through the vetting, and AU gave us the mandate with an MOU to say that you are the official diaspora representation that can now structure all people of African descent and organizations, whether on the professional level as corporate companies or civil society organizations. And so with that mandate, we are doing what we can to establish the national chapters across our various continents or regions. And so we are doing what we can. For me, we already started some work in the United States to put that structure in place. We also had one of our representatives from the Caribbean, from Barbados, Steve, who was also here. So the work is going on. And yes, there is a relationship between what we're doing in Canada and the rest of the world. And so we are working on that. We're doing what we can. And that's why I believe our presence here is to start that conversation and let more people know what is going on and ask questions and contribute to what can help and make this process better and smooth. And so it's an open process, and everybody's welcome to suggest advice and help us to see what we can do to achieve this continental and global goal that has been set for us as people of African descent. So a lot of work is happening already. We're connecting, we're reaching out, and we're doing what we can. And we also welcome some advice to that. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Kalu. Dr. Stewart, what do you have to add on what Dr. Kalu said? Dr. Stewart?
Thank you once again. Yes, thank you once once again. So we, as Dr. Kalus, a lot has been done, and we continue to do the work, even at a more aggressive, in a more aggressive way right now, because as we're coming to the end of the 10th year of declaration of the people of African descent, we have work to do to even make sure we put certain things in perspective before the end of that. And even as I said, we have quite a few representatives that and was here with us in the last few days. The ambassador to the ambassador of AU to the Americas that was here with us. The AU ambassador to the United States, she came also. We are getting support that we require or we need to help us to take the work or the movement to the next level. So it's getting more and more information out there to the diaspora and to get them engaged and to understand that we are one people. We need to have one voice and move forward in one strength.
Thank you, Dr. Scott. But concretely,
Dr. Diallo.
yes, Dr. Pindo.
I know that I joined the team a little later, but I was really curious. Who creates or who created these regions?
Maybe let's have Dr. Kalu answer, being the policy advisor. I think he can answer that question. Yes, who created those regions? I know there was 5 regions, geographical regions, 5, and then the 6th region was added for in terms of the diaspora, regardless where they are located. So, Dr. Kalu, who created those regions? I know it's from AU, but how it's come, this 6th region was created? Who and how?
Well, just as you mentioned, we have the various regions within the continent, about the 5 of them, and regions represent, the geographical region. You have for example, the ECOWAS, Economic Community of West Africa States, and so that's a West African region. Of course, you have the Central Africa States, the SADC, as well as Southern African development group. The same thing with Northern Africa, as well as the Southern Africa or the East Africa as well. So you have the 5 regions, and we have the 6th region, which is a virtual region within the continent, and which was established by the heads of states in 2012. Now, this came about because it was a big of a challenge how you can now incorporate all people of African descent, where we had the issues in the past. How do you determine who is of an African descent? Did they have to do a DNA to find out where they come from within the continent? And of course, you have what we call the first generation diaspora, and the rest, whether second or third generation, and those who migrated or those who are left because of one situation or the other, whether economic or war. Now, all that came together to a place to say that we need to give the diaspora a collective voice, platform to be able to do what they have to do in partnership with the continent of Africa. So it was the heads of states of Africa that endorsed and gave the declaration of the 6th region, which of course you can find that also all online, the declaration document, which helps to explain the process that was taken to get to this where we are today. Now, that also led to the African Union being gracious enough to now adjust the various seats within the AU organs. So, and the first part of it is within the ECOSOC organ, the Economic Social Cultural Commission, where you have 150 seats in the assembly, which is representing, the CSOs, the civil society organizations that are represented and are working within the continent. Now that the sixth region have been added to the process, they've reduced the seats for those 5 regions to 130 and given the diaspora about 20 seats. And so we are at the process where we're doing what we can now for the diasporans across the globe to officially take their seats at the ECOSOC Assembly, where they have the headquarters in Zambia, Lusaka. And so these are some of the things that are happening with the structures in place, and we are doing all we can to make sure that we take on this seat as soon as possible. And so based on your question, yes, it's the heads of states of the continent of Africa that gave the endorsement and the declaration of establishing the sixth region of the African continent. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Carlo. Dr. Stewart, do you really have a listening ear from the AU or from the AU, really? Because we don't hear often talking about the sixth region. So do you have a really listening ear from the AU? Dr. Stewart?
I didn't hear the question.
Do you have a listening ear? Do you have a listening ear from the AU, from the organization, really concretely? Because we often hear about the other, the 5 regions, but the sixth region we don't hear about it often. So the AU, are they promoting really the sixth region?
Yes, we have been. COVID, we have been. First of all, the sixth region in South Africa at the Pan-African Parliament when this was passed, and we were working or mobilizing the process even before it was adopted, and we continue to mobilize the process throughout Canada. We've gone through different places. The governmental body here is fully aware of it. The Global Affairs Office, the Parliament, we've gone through churches, we've gone into communities and mobilize it. So during the COVID, we were more on because everything was locked down, things was like on a standstill. But now that things have changed COVID wise, we are back on firing, taking the movement to the next level. We have gone to Jamaica, we have engaged the Americas, and we will continue. We have gone to the continent, we will continue. So.
And to add to that, Mr. Dallo, I know you're asking based on if we're getting the listening ear of the African Union for the sixth region, following the talks about the other 5 regions and what's happening. So to add to what Dr. Barbara just said, now there are a lot of things that are happening. It's one thing to have the declaration done or have the sixth region established, but there is also the legal framework that needs to be finalized, which is where we are. Things has been finalized to have a structure. Now, like I said, we're a virtual region. You have the other regions as states, within their various regions, but you have the sixth region as a virtual region, which is what we're doing by establishing the national process as well as the regional process globally, based on the continents of the world. So you have various continents that you have the diaspora, and they need to establish what you call the national chapters or national heads, just as you have the member states. So indirectly, you have these virtual member states of the sixth region across the globe. As we put those structures in place, it makes it easier. It makes it easier now for the working relationship and how things can move forward with the African Union and the diaspora. So we are still on that finishing point. And based on that, that's why we had the other sections that we just had 2 days outside of the 3 days within this celebration period. On the 24th, we had a special section the whole day with the heads of the ECOSOC and the CIDO from the AU Commission. They were here. We had then the representatives that are rectified already from the AU, from Australia, representing all the oceanic region and Australia, and then the representative from Europe, representing all the other bodies and diasporans from Europe, and of course myself representing the whole of the Americas and the Caribbean. And so there were deep consultations and conversations on how are we going to do the process of the diaspora taking on the official seats within the various organs of the African Union, like the ECOSOC, which is the first organ that AU have carved out our seats within the AU, the ECOSOC Assembly, which is 26. So they are giving listening ears. They are putting things in place. There are structures, there are conversations, there are consultations. Things are happening every single time, every year, as much as they could to make sure that things move forward. And when everything has gone to that full place of ratification and the legal framework is being finalized, then I believe they'll be hearing it much more as should be, because if you don't know how the relationship can be established, then it's going to be tough for them to know how to begin to promote things without a structure. So the infrastructure and the structure need to be finalized, even though that we've received the blessings, but we need to put those things in place. And so, yes, they are giving every support that they can, and in making sure that those things are done as soon as possible. Thank you.
Dr. Diallo.
Yes, just quickly, Dr. He talked about legal and policy frameworks. So, but the legal and policy framework in some African countries may not adequately support diaspora engagement. Let's say visa. In terms of visa, there is some complication in terms of visa, and I think we need to establish diaspora-friendly investment policies. So and also implement a supportive legal framework that can create an enable environment for diaspora contributions. So I heard between two countries side by side, you might not be able to travel from country A in Africa to country B because of visa complications, and that will not help in terms of diaspora. Let's say if you would like to have the unity, regardless where you are established, we need to have friendly and implement policies that enable that free movement in terms of African and diaspora. What do you have to say? I know Dr. Pindle, you were going to say something. Maybe you can add something on it before Dr. Kalu or Dr. Stewart answer those questions.
Definitely. Dr. Diallo, I think you just stole my thunder, because I really wanted to build up on what he had said, but then your questions or your comment really adds on to what I am thinking here. I appreciate the fact that there is traction, things are picking up pace, and that is encouraging. But we are dealing with a continent that is going through decolonization here. We have been taught and made to think in a certain way. And most of our leaders, including some of us, they are part of thinking processes that have become now part of who we are, and we're not even aware of the impact and the reality of colonization within our own systems. And so for us to move away from this thought that says, yes, we do have brothers and sisters who have now relocated and now live outside, but they're still part of Africa. And sometimes when we go back, people don't necessarily accept us the way we feel accepted, the way we feel we belong there. You see, and so it's a thinking process. I'm looking at it and saying, yes, there are great gains, but let's also be aware that we've been taught and made to think in a certain way. How much of that analytical processing are we really doing to make sure that we stay on the ball? Because let's face it, the two of you, when I look at you, you become our champions. And your work is cut out, but it's not going to come easy because there are people who look at you differently. And so the question that Dr. Diallo asked, whether you are really getting a listening ear, is a profound one, you know. And I know that you're saying, yes, you feel that you're being heard. And we hope that with the kind of persistence and experiences and skills that you have, you will continue to build on that so that you are really, really heard.
Well, once again, it's a very important comment and question at the same time. Um, you know, just like I mentioned, you cannot change a system outside of the system. You have to be a part of the system to bring the change. I'm of the opinion that, we have to be the change that we want to see. And it didn't come in a silver or golden platter for me. I had to find a way to be part of that system. And I believe that each and every one of us owe it to ourselves to be that change that we are looking for. Yes, I have my businesses, I have things that I'm doing personally and privately, but I felt that I needed to be heard. I needed to see the change of inclusiveness. I needed to see the global African family be what it should be. Now, you're right with what you said. It's about the mindset. One of the things that I find that within the continent and generally in anywhere in the world is the mindset. In Africa, sometimes, people think it's about maybe money is our issue or whatever. But I find that even when we talk about our leaders and think that they are not doing very well, you find out the same cycle that somebody else comes in, it doesn't even work or good or better or whatever than the other person. It's not giving us the full circle of what we're expecting because of the mindset. But the point is, like I said, we're not where we used to be. We might not be where we want to be, but we have certainly made progress. It might not be as fast as we want it to be, but the good thing is that we need to continue to promote the good side of what is being done. It encourages those who are doing something anyway. Because if we continue to encourage and speak well of what is being done, it gives room and more hope to do more. Some of us have been doing a lot for several years. I've been engaged with the African Union since 1997. Like you said, it has never come easy. But you see, I never got given up or discouraged with my engagement, and I continue to do that. It costs money, it costs time, it costs a lot of things. But I have seen proudly that a lot of things have changed. I have seen things for myself that I can testify. So many changes that I'm proud of, and so we are moving forward. We are getting to a gradual. It might be a slow pace for some people. It might be a little bit fast in some areas, but I can tell you that we're making progress. And so the AU is listening, but like I mentioned, so you have the AU. So let me explain this. You have the African Union. The African Union is a representation of the heads of states, where you have within themselves only as heads of states meeting together and electing somebody who will lead them for 1 year. Now you have the African Union Commission, so which is the administrative body of the African Union. Now the African Union Commission, which you have a leadership of a chairperson and a deputy chairperson, and then you have the various commissions, about 10 of them, 8 to 10 of them. Now you have those commissions are situated in Addis Ababa, which is the administrative body of the African Union. Now the commission is the one that comes up with various consultations and then recommendations that are now presented now to the hierarchy of the African Union Commission. And this is presented before the Heads of State Summit, and they will go through that. And the ones that are accepted, they will endorse or rectify it during their summit, which they do twice in a year. And so, with that in place, we have enough space and room every year to be able to make suggestions and bring recommendations in place that will certainly bring the change that we want to see when it comes to the change that we want within the continent. And so it's quite a process, but I think that we are making progress so far. And I think with the opportunity with the media and all that, we need to channel the narrative. We need to tell the story ourselves. We need to find out the information and say it the way it is. And the more we promote what is good and what is being done, and we encourage our leaders a little bit more to do more, that we are watching and we are seeing the areas that they are doing something good. Not all the time it's about a negative thing that we can point at, but there are also some good stuff that we can research and find out and encourage the areas that they are doing well so that they can do more. And I think that's one of the things that I will encourage at this point. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Kala. Actually, you talk about, perceptions and stereotypes, because you talk about, it's why I think it's, in order to, it's good to showcase success stories. And because there is, we have to recognize there is a negative perception and stereotype about Africa. And this can discourage, diaspora engagement, investment. But as you said, we need to promote a positive narrative, showcase success stories. And in this case, so the challenging misconceptions about Africa, it's essential to have something positive in order to change the perception and increase diaspora involvement. It's one thing. And the other thing also, and we need to tackle the cultural and social disconnect, because we have to accept also the diaspora sometimes might have limited knowledge of local context, cultural dynamics, and also and there is some kind of barriers in terms of bridge in terms of cultural gaps. So we need to have something more effective and to bridge the cultural gap. So to maybe, and you can maybe implement those kind of things. Provide orientation programs for diaspora present, and to facilitate the diaspora engagement with local communities in Africa in terms of with meaningful partnership. So I think it's one of the things you can implement. So do you think you are working on that direction? Maybe I will have Dr. Stewart, to answer the question first and then come back to Dr. Carlo.
So to answer what Dr. Kalu said, based on what Dr. Francis asked, must be colonized, and is who we are and how we view. Hear me? Hear me?
No. There's been a recall, and I think all this can make
I don't know what's wrong.
No, I don't know what's wrong.
Yeah, maybe you have two.
Yeah, maybe you have two devices.
You have to meet one of them.
Can you hear me now? Still not hear me.
Can you hear me now?
Am I mute? I'm not mute.
Am I mute? I'm not mute.
One of the device.
But there seems to be an echo.
because there is an echo.
Can you hear me now?
Can you hear me now? You might have two devices side by side.
There's still an echo. You say one thing and then
There's
it comes
still
back
an
again.
echo. You say one thing and then it comes back again.
Yeah, she might have two devices. She
might have two devices. She connect into.
Hear me now?
Yes, better.
Hear me now? Yes, better. Go ahead. Yes.
I'm connected twice.
I'm connected twice.
Yes, yeah, you have to turn off.
Okay.
Yes, yeah, you have to turn off. Sorry about that. So say this on what the.
Hello?
Hello? Maybe.
Are you hearing?
Are you hearing?
We still have the echo.
Can we hear you?
We still have the echo.
I was saying based on what
Okay, no, it's good.
Not yet.
Not yet.
I was saying based on what Dr. Francis had said.
Sorry about all this. What Dr. had said about.
Dr. Kalu?
I am getting an echo back now.
Dr. Kalu, I'm getting an echo back now.
Go ahead, Dr. Kalu. I don't know what's going on.
Go ahead, Dr. Kalu. I don't know what's going on.
Okay. You know, Dr. Gallo,
Dr. Gallo,
I don't know if you're hearing me. I don't know. I think the echo thing is a general thing. I don't know. It's.
I don't know if you're hearing me. I don't know. I think the echo thing is a general thing. I don't know. It's. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, maybe she have to mute both of the devices.
It is.
Yeah, maybe she have to mute both. It is.
Maybe that's something our brother Theo can look into.
Something our brother Theo can look into.
Yeah, it's from the platform. It's from the platform.
Yeah, it's from the platform. It's from the platform. I think that would be good.
Let's try again. Now it seems better, right?
Let's try again. Now it seems better, right?
The echo is still there.
The echo is still there.
I think it's from the stream major. We are having problem. We can wrap up today because we are having technical problems. And we'll have you back.
We'll have you back for sure.
And Dr. Stuart,
Dr. Kalu,
and we'll have you back for sure. So we have
lots of development.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you. So
thank you very much. Thank you. So and we'll
thank you.
Thank you.